Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Nick Vyas on the line, and he's the Executive Director at the USC Marshall Center for Global Supply Chain Management. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
So I'm excited to get into what you're doing over at the Center for Global Supply Chain Management. But before we do that, let's get a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career?
So my journey to my current destination has been sort of a zigzag. I started out as an engineer. Really, my initial goal was to become an aerospace engineer because I really loved fighter planes, and I thought the best way, if I can fly it, let's try to design it. And that curiosity led me from engineering, aerospace engineering, into the mechanical, ultimately coming to what I really enjoyed, which was industrials and systems engineering. And that really set the path for what I've done throughout my career up till today.
Wow, and so I think that's a good transition also. So let's just dive right in and get into what you're doing at the USC Marshall Center for Global Supply Chain Management. So first, tell us a little bit more about the school, please.
Absolutely. So I'm the founding executive director for Center for Global Supply Chain Management at University of Southern California, Marshall School of Business. So my journey in this path in academia started in 2012. So at that point, the dean wanted to establish the Global Supply Chain Management program at the university. So we were looking at kicking off the graduate program, Masters of Science in Global Supply Chain Management. And I've strongly believed that besides just having a program in which you educate students and graduate them through the academic journey, they needed something solid to link to the industry and current trends and issues that the society faces. So the center was sort of a part of the ecosystems we wanted to build. And looking back now in 2020, I'm so happy that we were able to actually do both simultaneously, launch the program as well as launch the center, which has become one of the premier center in terms of thought leadership, applied research, and creating an amazing link for students to industry.
And I've reviewed the site, and I see some of the pictures and some of the other things, and it seems like obviously it's USC, number one, but number two, just the location, being in Southern California, when you think about logistics, when you think about global supply chain, not only for our country, but for the world, it's just a really unique school and environment to be a part of. I'm looking at a picture, and I'm guessing that's in Long Beach. I see a huge ship. Tell us a little bit more about the program.
Well, absolutely. So what we really wanted to do is create a human capital, which is really in a huge deficit when you talk about the global supply chain management. And that's a dilemma that not only it's a U.S. problem, but it's a global problem. So we just simply do not have enough well-rounded executives that they can actually bridge the gap that we currently have. So we really try to bring the best in-class curriculum, teach them the current demand, and then really prepare them with the hands-on experiences, working on the projects for the companies, working on applied research for Port of Los Angeles, Long Beach, and many other large infrastructure institutions, and really prepare them so that they can become very valuable to the industry, to the issues of global supply chain management across the world.
And so I get to ask, I do a lot of interviews. I'm talking to business owners, entrepreneurs, executives all day long when it comes to, so I'm always on the other side of the coin in terms of asking this question. But I think it'd be interesting to get your perspective on it because I don't always get to talk to academia. So I'll normally ask, so I've talked to these big logistic companies, these trucking, these shipping, these international trade companies. I always ask them a question. I said, anything interesting going on in supply chain or logistics that you find interesting in the present environment? I'll pose the question to you from the academia standpoint. Anything interesting that you care to comment on that's going on in global supply chain that just, it's the thing that gets you up in the morning. You're like, oh, this is exciting.
Certainly. So let me actually preface this answer by stating that I'm actually very fortunate because my prior life before academia, I came from industry. Mm-hmm. So my journey really allowed me to see both sides of the equation. So I was able to actually be in a supply chain, manage for Fortune 20, the global operations. So I had a chance to see exactly what the industry went through late 80s into early 90s into the 2000s in terms of the global expansion and how the world became so flat in terms of the movements of goods and consumptions and tying in cross-border opportunity cross-continental. And I think what that did over the last 20 years is truly opened up an enormous opportunity for our civilization to uplift a tremendous amount of populations out of the poverty into what we call the discretionary spending capabilities. So today you look at it, and I know we have current political dialogues about the globalization and how it diminishes middle class in some part of the world. I would venture, if you look at the holistic data, that globalization has done more good to the humanity than other way around.
I love it. That's a great point. And you're right. You do have a unique vantage point based off of your background in industry.
So with that being said, I think what we are seeing in supply chain management is the transformation, the evolution, and how what people didn't know what supply chain was in 80s and in 90s and 2000s, we always thought supply chain as a UPS brown uniform guy carrying a brown box.
I totally think that's what most people still think. Yeah, I get it.
Right, and so we actually, that was our understanding of logistics, distribution, supply chain. To now you look at it, is that your ability to click something that you want and be able to get it the same day, in many cases, in a couple of hours. So the execution behind that desire to be able to provide that level of service, it is an incredible achievement that humanity has been able to achieve. And it is simply because of the evolution and the transformation of supply chain. What excites me and what makes me get up every day is this emerging technologies underpinning the entire global ecosystem and creating the linkage, which 30 years, 40 years, 50 years ago would have been impossible for us to even envision and conceptualize, far less to execute it.
Man, you got me excited, Nick. I'm like, I want to go back to school. No, I don't. I mean, I'm busy working, but still, I'm like, oh. And here goes a loaded question. When's this drone going to come bring you some things, Nick? No, I don't. You don't have to answer that.
Well, you know what? It will happen. It will happen in our lifetime. I think the technology and the capabilities are there. It is how much we as a human, we as a society, is willing to give in and willing to explore further.
Oh, that's awesome, and I think that's a great way to end it, Nick. I can't add any words to that one, and I really want to thank you for taking time out to come on the show today and share more about your background and all the great work that you're doing over at USC Marshall Center for Global Supply Chain Management. If somebody's listening to this, Nick, and they want to follow up and learn more about the school or to connect, what's the best route for them to do that?
Well, most certainly. They can connect with me on the LinkedIn. My LinkedIn ID is the Vyas007. That's PHEVYAS 007. I'll be more than happy to connect and discuss further.
Awesome. And from a supply chain guy, I would expect nothing other than something that cool, the Vyas 007. Come on, I love it. All right, Nick. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Money Matters Top Tips. Do all those great things we do to support our podcasters. I really do appreciate it. And Nick, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you, Adam.